Hello YouTube, welcome to the video today. I'm going to be showing you a behind the scenes look of a recent project that I used, as you can see, Ableton and Izotope for, specifically with the purpose of capturing and editing a live performance for release, in this case a sort of music video, and I'll describe some of the processes I sort of have for editing non-ideal audio. And what I mean by that is, you know, if you have a studio and everything's isolated, you can do a lot more than in the case of this live context. As I'll show you, I don't have all the isolated audio that I might want to have to be able to edit to perfection. But this video is going to be about processes to make the most of what you've got for a professional sounding product. So with that, let's just jump into what we have here. And I guess first things first, I'll play you a sample audio, and then we'll go into how I generated it. So I do want to bring up my OBS just so I can make sure that you can hear it. And let's hit play. Oops. Here we go, let's hit play. So that's an example. Let's also, I think this is Brain. I actually want to use this as an example. So this was a performance that I was a part of, Human Target playing at St. Vitus on December 23rd. Okay, let's go over here. There we go. So, this is the processed audio. Let's take a look at it raw. So I'm going to turn off Ozone here. I'm going to turn off an audio effect rack I have here, and I will turn off this, and let's just take a listen to each of the raw pieces of audio. So let's see. I hope this is loud enough. Let's see. So you can hear it's kind of boomy. It's like you hear a lot of noise there, right? Like I sort of. So this was the output of a Tascam recorder, and in fact, I think I have it right here. I brought one of these. In fact, I brought two of them along to the show, and they both had some variety of malfunction. So I guess that's what I'll cover first. So one thing that you're going to want to do when you're editing any audio is, you know, zoom out and look at it from a high level. And what I see in this particular audio is that I think my Tascam must have had some sort of auto gain thing enabled, because I can clearly see that this audio is not as loud as this audio, which is not as loud as this audio, and not only that, but there was some critical auto gain error for this very small slice. Let's take a listen to that. In fact, I'll put this back at that. Let's just take a listen. Oh, in fact, I've already set the relative levels here, but I'll even it out and then I'll undo it. So what the hell was that? I mean, the answer to what it is I do not know. But what I chose to do about this particular error is smooth it out. So like this audio is actually likely, unfortunately, totally trash, but in terms of making the best of what I've got in order to accomplish my goal, what I did was I just normalized it in the mixer here. So what I'm going to do is we've selected, our playhead will start here. Let's go to our mixer and let's just look at the levels and see what they get to. So let's see, I'll just normalize these here. So we can see that they're all around sort of -14 in terms of what they peaked at here. And what this means, especially when it's when processing in other ways, is that despite this unfortunate malfunction, it's going to be as smooth as it can be for the listener. Now, something else that was non-ideal about this particular performance that you might find yourself doing was the guitarist, yours truly, missed the first note. So what you'll see here in this little edit is that thankfully this was a phrase that I was able to just copy the second phrase onto the first phrase, and we were playing in time enough that it will be indistinguishable to the, well, I suppose now I've told you, so the game is up, but that's another thing that you can do to make the most of live audio, is where possible make edits, like if there's a bum note, or like maybe depending on the performance, you can actually add in an overdub, for instance. That would be an option. Or what was an option for me here was I could just copy the second phrase. So let's listen to it edited. Oh, let's turn on ozone so it's nice and loud. So this was -6 in my original, just put that back. And now let's go back and listen to what was actually, what was actually, oops, I'm messing up a lot of stuff. What was actually played. So, someone clearly didn't turn on their guitar. So, that's what that little edit allows to do. So, I guess two things you can consider there is take a look at your tracks broadly. Like I see that this here, the output from the sound desk, nice and smooth, broadly speaking, over the course of the entire performance. It can be compressed into something a little bit more manageable. And then what I noticed with the Tascam is it's going to have to be compressed differently because of differences in volume. So that's for starters. Now, with regards, and so that's, I guess, using Ableton to create little edits. Now, with regards to other forms of non-ideal audio, so let's take a, just listen to this. So I want to listen to this here. So what I hear when I hear this, and hopefully this comes through when the processing is all done and you're hearing it on the other side, is I hear a lot of guitar coming through. Let's see again. This is just the Tascam. A lot of guitar. That kick does come through. But I'm not hearing a lot of bass, personally. Little bass in there now. Let's see if we get any vocals. Okay. So, what this tells me from like an audio engineering perspective is just what you have to work with. the highs don't seem very good, the lows don't seem very good, there's nothing to really grab onto there. In fact, it seems mostly like fuzz and noise, and so that's why in this particular processing chain, I'll turn off RX10 and Neutron, and we'll get to that in a second. But I have a very aggressive filter on here, and let's see what the result of the filter is. Now, what you should be able to hear, even though it's quite low now, is that it's got rid of all of that woofiness that was basically just useless noise, unfortunately. And that was everything below 1K. I don't know what the Tascam is rated for. I just plopped it down on the sound desk. You know, it was a bit of a rushed thing, so this is about non-ideal situations. Everything below 1K in this particular recording doesn't seem good to me, and so if I cut that out and then do my processing on that, one of the advantages of this is that it grants me what is essentially a volume slider for guitars and vocals. Now, it was fortunate with regards to this performance, because if we listen to the output of the sound desk, let's see, do I have anything on this? Yeah, let's turn off the audio effect rack. Let's turn it up a bit. So the thing that comes through most clearly to me in this version of the recording, which is from the sound desk, is because every drum had a microphone on it, the drums come through excellently. The vocals, because it's through a microphone, also come through great. But the bass is like okay. I wouldn't say the bass is great on either of these recordings, by no fault of either the sound guy or me with this Tascam. Just so happens that it didn't pick up very well. That's not to say that we can't fix that situation, and what that tells me is that with the Tascam filtered so that we just get the mids sort of above 1K, it means that we can using our faders bring in some guitars, which is actually a happy accident. So let's take a look at what RX10 does. So RX10 is a product from Izotope that it's called its Repair Assistant, and it has these different sliders and options here. De-harsh, you can pick a sort of style of improvement. De-click, de-clip, de-reverb, and de-noise. Now what these all do is really what it says on the packet. If you recorded in a room with reverb and you don't want reverb, this will do its best to aggressively fade out after transients in order to de-reverb it. In this particular instance, it's not while the auto assistant, when I hit learn and it analyzed the audio, the reverb was not an offensive sound in this particular recording. The recording was a bit harsh, and I messed around with the sliders to try to get this to work, but I found it didn't improve the sound. The audio is not clipping or clicking, so these things are all off. What I found was that if I went a little bit more aggressively than 25% on the denoise, I got a degradation in quality that was not good, but at 25 I got an improvement that cleaned up the audio. Let's see if it comes through now, even without any other processing. So Repair Assistant is now on. Let's turn it back up a little bit. I'm just setting the levels on everything. So let's turn off denoise. So what comes through in my headphones with that is a very clear improvement in like smoothness, I would say. Let's check out for fun what de-reverb and declip do, because maybe it'll be appropriate for your context. In fact, I'm gonna turn off my EQ thing here so we can hear some more of the other frequencies, and I might have to mess with the other volume. Let's see. Oh, what did I do? We were listening to this portion here. We were listening to this portion of the audio. So it doesn't really come through here because there isn't much opportunity for reverb to present itself. Let's see what D-Harsh does. So this rolls off a bunch of the highs. But I do feel like something is lost with that. So it's not appropriate for this context. Clipping isn't a problem here. So there's that. Now, with regards to Neutron, let's take a look what it's up to on this. So I used Neutron's Learn thing here with the distorted electric setting because after this, essentially, I guess like high pass or mid pass, depending on what you want to call it. This is a distorted electric guitar recording, and so I chose to use Neutron. You know, we're in the business of doing things quickly, and I chose to use Neutron's auto settings and then go through and just confirm its work. One thing that I do always do with Neutron is I find that it's not aggressive enough with the low and high passes for its... and so we're already passing quite aggressively here, but I was finding that after, even so, things were coming through that were sort of boomy and not very useful, perhaps because of what the sculptor is up to. Let's see if that's true. Yeah, so you see the sculptor is trying to make up for that by boosting a bunch of this stuff very aggressively. So I just pass that out again because we don't want it, and then I let it do its thing on the compressor and exciter. And we have our volume slider for distorted guitar. Okay. Now let's take a look at the output of the sound desk. With the sound desk, what I was finding was that the output was stereo, which is awesome, and I guess I'm accustomed to processing mono tracks. But it doesn't matter in Ableton. In Ableton you can use the audio effect rack to split things left and right and then process them independently. So that's what I've done here. We've got to create an audio effect rack, add a chain, pan left, add a chain, pan right, and then you'll be able to process them each independently. And then I run Neutron on all-purpose other, and let it do its thing. Let's take a listen to the differences. So it's now soloed. So it seems to believe that this portion of the audio spectrum needs to be reduced in loudness so that it can be equalized a bit with the high end, and that essentially boosts the high end, and I think that's probably right. Sounds good to me. And then it came up with this EQ curve, And I messed with the exciter a bit. And that to me sounds better. And I believe I had it at -10. So what I do for purpose of setting levels is usually set it to 0, and then bring it up. Well, I guess negative infinity technically, but bring it up to the level that you feel is perceptually right. So let's now with ozone still off, take a listen. Let me turn it up a little bit so it's a little bit more obvious to you what's going on. Let's listen to this phrase here. So this is just the sound desk. And here when I turn the solo off, those guitars just get more growly. In a way that I think's beneficial. Okay, I think it's about to get loud, so let's turn down the audio input. Okay, and as a final step, let's take a look at what Ozone did. Now, my process for using Ozone is again just use the auto learn system, and then mess with these settings to taste. And further, an absolutely crucial element is Ozone's auto system almost always gets it wrong with regards to this maximizer. So it's very important that you go to the reference. I've loaded in a reference here, and compare your loudness to the loudness of something that you think is either desirable or that you would like to have your music next to in a mix. And this will also reveal potential mix problems. You'll be able to hear, you know, how your reference, how loud the bass is, how loud the guitars are relative to everything else. And so the process of loudness referencing will also help you out with regards to mixing. So it's absolutely crucial. I find that the work that it does with this equalizer, stabilizer, this impact, which is multi-band compression as I understand it, imager, which makes the audio wider or narrower, and yeah, the most crucial thing, if you do nothing else, it's really very important that you reference its generated maximizer, which is almost never right, unfortunately. Everything else, unless you hear a problem, I find it tends to be pretty good. And oh, oops, I didn't mean to do that. And yes, another thing that it does is, let's see. Anyway, let's take a listen to the differences between the mastered and non-mastered. There's not much you can do with audio this simple, which is one of the benefits, I think, actually. It's kind of pleasant to work on. So I'm just going to turn it down a lot, just in case it's very loud. Ah, yes, this is what I wanted to go into. So this imager with the affecting the width of the recording. One other thing that I did, and it very often gets this right, but it does need to be poked with on occasion, is making sure that the stereo width of the bass is at 0, because I'm not sure what the psychoacoustic reasons for this are, but you want your bass to be in the center, and you want everything above. And by bass, I'm also including kick drum. So kick drum and the bass guitar, everything above the sort of bass frequencies, above around 100K, you want to be wide. In this case, I guess I opted to make them maximally wide, but you do not want that for your bass, because otherwise it feels muddy in your head, is what I would say. But you'll have to. That's not always true. You'll have to make that determination for yourself. So let's take a listen now. Let's make it. Yeah, so it probably doesn't come through very well when you're hearing it after it's been compressed and all that, but there's a little bit of sort of uneasiness when there's like a bass hit in the left ear that is a little bit delayed in the right ear, or vice versa, and that is just completely nullified by setting the stereo width to 0. And you can mess with this slider to find where it is. So if we hit play now, you can kind of see like it's about right here that a lot of our bass action happens. But you can slide that back and forth and decide for yourself. And so that's the process for making the most, well, my process for making the most of this non-ideal audio for this context using Ableton and Izotope. You know, you can see I did a little, I believe the technical name is multing or something, but I just mean to say cutting up to adjust for loudness, editing where possible, setting faders to normalize if necessary, and relying on a lot of the auto features of Improve Audio, Neutron, and Ozone. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this useful or helpful for whatever your context is. If you'd like my advice for maybe the audio that you captured, or you'd like me to take a look, feel free to check out my website, which will be in the description, and you can also find me for hire on Fiverr. So don't forget to subscribe for more like this, and I'll catch you next time.